everybody, and welcome to the Empowering Industry Podcast. I'm your host, Charli Matthews, and I am excited to be with one of our partners today and to really just get to know him. So I'm going to just turn it over to you, Michael, and introduce yourself. Kind of tell us who you are, what you do currently.
Thanks, Charlie. My name is Michael Mancini, and it's a pleasure to be on this podcast. Number one, um, I've been in this business for 50 years now. I started. I'm a graduate of Lehigh University in mechanical engineering. I started my career at a company called Ingersoll-Rand, which is now a legacy brand of Flowserve, designing pumps for the submarine program, 688 class and Trident. It was exciting. I went through different job responsibilities, actually out in sales and marketing, ended up being vice president of their aftermarket worldwide. And I continued to do that until Flowserve purchased, it was now in Ingersoll-Dresser Pumps and decided to get rid of upper management. So I went into consulting and mainly focused in the nuclear industry because they were paying more, just to be frank, and did a lot of root cause analysis. I did training, but basically supporting customers and identifying the problems that they were having and the opportunities they had to be more successful. I joined Hydro. In fact, I've joined Hydro several times. It's an excellent company. It's what I really like about it is that their goals are aligned to the customers, and when I mean that, they're really focused in increasing the operating life and reliability of equipment. Not so much with OEMs, as one of my uh, prime responsibilities was getting parts business in, and that doesn't really align itself with increasing operating life. But having said that, what we're trying to do is further that and supporting customers in achieving what we now call operational excellence. And that goes beyond the core business that Hydro does, which is quality repairs and inspections. And it delves into how do I support you in reducing your major cost drivers? And nowadays, and this has changed quite a bit over the last 5 or 10 years, and it's changed because of, as everybody knows, the brain drain that's going on around the country as a result of retirement and downsizing, and basically losing the critical mass within plants and companies to run their plants efficiently. So we did a lot of soul searching and said, what can we do? And we identified those areas that the customers were having problems with. And one of the big ones was the increase in maintenance errors in maintaining the plant. So what could we do to support customers in not having these maintenance errors? What can we do to support customers in not having what we call non-availability, meaning these what we call emergent issues where a pump all of a sudden fails without any preemptive warning? What can we do to support the customer in reducing their energy costs? What can we do to support the customers increasing their operating life? Because of and that is a double dip. If we can increase the operating life, not only do they not have to incur the cost of maintaining the equipment, but they don't have to incur the errors in maintaining the equipment, either from the suppliers, which is important, or with themselves. So we developed a strategy of attacking this almost like a failure modes and effects analysis, where we looked at what are the failure mechanisms for maintenance errors, for example. What are the failure mechanisms for non-availability? What are the failure mechanisms for energy loss? And based on what those failure mechanisms were, coming up with solutions that would support customers in remediating those problems and increasing their operational excellence, and by doing so, reducing their annual cost of operation. So we formed a company called Total Solutions, which is really, uh, additive to our core business of repair and inspections, to address those issues. So uh, it's exciting. Um, the customers appreciate where we're going with this, and it really lends ourselves to being more than just a supplier, really partnering with customers in achieving some of their goals.
I love that, and there's so much there. I mean, I'm curious about a couple different things. Obviously, having you on here. First, I mean, I get to work with your daughter there in marketing and beyond, and I absolutely love it. Did you bring her into this industry? Is that kind of part of your legacy of kind of bringing her along beside you? And then my other question is, why engineering? Why did you pick to go into that field?
Me
Yeah,
personally,
yeah, you.
those are two good questions. So I'll attack the first one first. My daughter is, she's really a wonderful person. And she went to college to study English, and she graduated top in her class as an English major. And her career goal was to be a professor. And I saw her not taking the advanced testing that she would have to do to become a professor. And so I said, I said, Kristen, why don't you work with Daddy and use your English skills to help me write some proposals and whatnot. Well, having said that, she was always terrific technically, doing science fairs and excellent in math and whatever. And she's a voracious reader. So she took it upon herself to become self-educated in the engineering sciences required for pumps. And I took her to my seminars and actually had developed laryngitis one time, and it forced her to actually give the seminar, which is always great. But she became self-taught. I started giving her engineering problems like calculating the critical speed of a vertical pump or the resonance frequencies of certain components, and she became great at it. So to the point where I would take her with me on consulting jobs, and she would do, you know, unfortunately, she would do the midnight shift and actually supervise people taking pumps apart and putting them together. So she's quite gifted. Within Hydro, she could do about any job that was required of her.
You know what? And I see that. I've actually she helped me take a pump apart once. And but I also see that teaching aspect to her. So that's really interesting that she was thinking about going down that field because I see her being able to deliver that message in an easy to understand kind of way.
Right. Why I chose engineering was that my father was an engineer. So that was a simple choice. The problem came in is when I was in college, and Lehigh at that time was an all male school, and and I was playing basketball, and I was rooming with a wrestler, and he said, "Mike, do you want to be in a play?" I said, "No way." And he says, "Well, it's in an all girls school." And I said, "Okay." And I auditioned. I got the lead part in a musical called Finian's Rainbow, and it became a love of mine to the point where it's an avocation. I started a theater company. I've done 90 shows, and it's just a different side of me. But
I
it,
love that so much, and Chicago, of course, has,
yeah,
so many great theaters there. Uh,
right. So
Amazing. Well,
yeah,
I knew that you're a cool person. Absolutely, I didn't know exactly where our, conversation would take us, but I absolutely love those things, and just, I know that there is an issue, with our workforce, and we are all trying to figure out the best way to train and bring people up, and really just talking about our industry with our children is huge. But what about the technology? I know I've seen y'all doing a lot of more things in the digital space and being that solutions provider. Do
right.
we see people taking advantage of that and really using the technology today?
That's a great question. There are a lot of issues. I've been talking to a lot of top executives at companies. Being in this business for 50 years, you get to know a lot of people, and they grow to very high places, and it affords you the opportunity to have you know great conversations during dinner about exactly what their challenges are. And one of the challenges that they have is um, that they can't keep people in their jobs that long. So well, let's take for example, uh, trying to not to have unavailability, which is the biggest cost, because when a plant is down, it costs them $500,000 a day. It's a tremendous drain, on their bottom line. So, if you take a look at it, how can you stop doing that? It's basically by taking data and analyzing the data and understanding what the data means to them. So, when we came up with that answer, what we constructed is a training course that doesn't, traditionally training, in any of these industries was an attaboy. Somebody from human resources says, go to trainings, take a couple of days off, learn something about this equipment. So it wasn't essential. But today, it's really not training; it's learning. And it's taken on a different animal where it's essential learning. It's important to the company, and especially when you look at reduced headcount, how important that training is. So we reconstructed all of our training or learning platforms, so that it was useful to the customer for their core needs, and their core needs, as we configured them to be, was number one: how do I evaluate the health of my assets? Right. Then number two, how do I evaluate the risk of continued operation until the next scheduled work effort? So all of our platforms deal with the generic root causes of equipment degradation, whether it's high bearing temperature or loss of performance or high vibration or whatnot, and we describe it, and we talk about what causes it, what the effects are, how do you determine it, how do you solve it. So it provides a very uh, concise uh, directory for somebody to go in there if they're having a problem, to research it. What we found that, we could get into a classroom situation and talk about it, but the retention rate was so low that it wasn't doing the customer really real good. So if I talk to a senior executive, say, Mike, we love the training, but my people aren't going to experience something like that. They could experience 8 9 months down the road and they won't remember anything you said. So we decided to, well, yeah, you're right. So we're going to, our solution to that was to record it and put it on a learning management system so that people could go back and revisit. So when they had the problem, it'd be like we were in the classroom, at that moment, reteaching it, and always having a phone number available, to talk to a live subject matter expert. So that seemed uh, to fit the need. Except lately, what they're saying is, Mike, these people aren't even there anymore. So 8 months down the road, this problem will occur, and somebody will be experiencing the problem. They'll have never attended the class, and so what we're into now, and fortunately or unfortunately, is artificial intelligence, where somebody can ask a specific question, and we can provide a detailed, um, I don't want to say answer in itself, because these problems are complex, but what we can do is provide an explanation and a list of action items, and a process that the customer needs to go through to either support or refute all the different areas that we discuss. So it gives the customer exactly what they want. It gives them a path going forward. So we're into, and this is, and now what we have to deal with is the second complexity is the learning behavior of the new entrants, because it's all visual. I have 6 children, and if I went from Kristen, who's my oldest, to my youngest, you know, each, even if they're 4 years apart, it's a new generation, and they have, different ways of going about, how they learn and how they retain that knowledge. I can tell you that my youngest, who's 18, is on ChatGPT all the time, doesn't feel a need to learn, because all that info, and that's a challenge to our society. I mean, the answers on in the internet is, it's a two-edged sword. They feel like they really don't need to learn, because they can just ask a question and get an answer.
Well, I also think that that is a challenge for our existing workforce to like enter that data, right? Like to give
Right.
the correct answer, to really work with. So like the what else needs to be done is to really get involved with this AI machine and figure out a way that we can educate it.
Right.
the way it needs to be educated, so that they'll have those answers. Because technology is not going away, and we're, like you said, every year we're learning it, how to use it a little bit differently.
I agree. I think artificial intelligence will provide those answers, fortunately or unfortunately, because I feel like artificial intelligence is going to put a lot of people out of work. That's a different problem. That's a different
Well,
podcast.
yeah, and I was gonna say there's about to be a lot of people out of work anyway, so it'll even itself out. We'll figure it out, and I'm excited about it. And just having access to people like yourself, and others that have that industry knowledge today. So let people record you a lot, Michael. Um, I want to give you the floor and kind of give you. Is there anything else you want to leave our audience with before I go into a little rapid fire?
I just think that one of the things that customers have to focus on is um, is making everything visual for the new entrants, because that is the learning behavior. So we have worked hard into providing 3D animations. Let's say, for example, for maintenance personnel. So you take a maintenance procedure that and one of the there are a couple of reasons why maintenance errors have grown geometrically within all markets, and the first of it is because the procedures themselves are incorrect. They're faulty, they're fraught with errors, and they're generic in nature. So uh, the instructions themselves it'd be like you getting a bicycle at Christmas and you get this one page where it shows everything on one page and it's confusing and something. That's how a lot of the maintenance procedures are. Okay. And so what we decided to do is take the procedure itself, correct it, and upgrade it to best in class, and then add in, our very well qualified field service people pour over it to add additional items that they feel that new people wouldn't understand, so that it provides a more robust instruction process. Because the issue is that the 5 years ago the experienced worker at any plant knew that the procedure was wrong, and did what was right. Even in the nuclear arena, where they are required to circle and slash under law, they would just go past it. They would circle and slash, knowing it was not right, but they would do the right thing. But now with these people retiring and that institutional knowledge gone, bring somebody new, and they believe that the procedure is right, so they're going to follow it. And that, so and then to write a procedure is not the way they're going to behave. So what we've done is we corrected the procedure and then animated, and now it's just a YouTube on steroids. And so anything, whether it's learning on an engineering side, is it's going to be more animated. Is going to be the way. So that would be the thought that I would leave. That the last thing.
Oh, I love it, and I also am just like, "Okay, let's go, y'all. It's learning mode for all of us, not just for our new entrants." Let's get in there. Okay, so little rapid fire is a little different. It's more personal again. I want to know, what's your favorite book?
My my favorite book. Um, I have a lot of. I think it was To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay. What about music? Got a favorite song or band?
My favorite band. That's a good question. I think my favorite band is Journey.
I love Journey. What is the best advice that you have ever received?
Best advice that I ever received was to live your life as if it's the front page of the New York Times, and that you don't have more than one shot at your integrity, and so why worry about what lie you said 2 weeks ago. Tell the truth all the time.
I love that. Okay, so we've been talking about bringing people in. What advice would you give a young professional coming into our industry?
That's a great question. Well, the one thing I would say is that if you work hard and you're diligent at your work, the opportunity uh, for succession and to increase into a company's organization is a lot higher than what it was 30 years ago. So if you work hard and once again you have a lot of integrity, you can find yourself being in a very high managerial position before long. I would say that, especially on the plant side, whether it's in engineering or maintenance, that due to the downsizing, you're going to be responsible for so many things that it'd be advantageous to develop a retinue of subject matter experts in different fields that you could at least learn from. Number one, but number two, rely on on cases of emergency where they can help you.
That's really great advice. I have so many advisors and mentors and people that I'm going to call when I'm either stuck or just wanting to be like, a little praise, I'm on the right track or whatever. So that's really great advice. I feel like I could talk to you all day, and I hope that I get to meet you sometime soon. And I know that we have trade shows coming up, and Hydro is going to be out there also doing training on a regular basis. So I'll make sure that we have that in the show notes. Anything else you want to add before we go?
Well, I look forward to meeting you, and as you can tell, I love to talk forever. So, hey, when you're in this business for 50 years, there comes a time where you say, I'd like to give something back to the industry. So that's basically where we're at.
Well, y'all, if you haven't done it already, like, subscribe, share this. It's one of the best interviews. I'm honored to be able to have gotten to have you on our platform and share this information because I think it's so valuable to our industry and beyond the pump industry. So until next time, everyone, be empowering.